again to you. We're glad that you're here in our Saturday service. If you've been with us for a while, you know that one thing we do every month is share story, as Josh just prayed, which is a testimony, right? A story of how God has saved us, delivered us, rescued us. I think one of the signs of a healthy faith family is knowing each other's stories, right? I want you to be able to look around and say, I know how God delivered that person, right? And as we begin to know each other more in faith, we grow. We mature in Christ together. Gegham, I'm going to invite you to the stage. You can make your way up here. Gegham Bdoyan. Did I say it right? Yes. Okay. Gegham has been a good friend. I've learned a lot from him. His testimony is encouragement to me. We sat in my office this week and talked, and I got goosebumps just listening to you share what God has done. The point of what we do as we share story is to give God glory. Right, this is a freedom story of how Christ has saved you. So would you welcome Gegham tonight?
Thank you. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. And this is kind of one page of my life, but I try to shorten. Give the most important things in my life and focus more on how God really worked through my life and changed it. So I was born in, my name is Gegham, and don't try hard to pronounce correctly because that's hard. I was born in Armenia, and if you don't know where Armenia is, it's between Black and Caspian Sea, Turkey, Iran, Azerbaijan, and Georgia, that's in the middle. That Armenia was the first country who accepted the Christianity as state religion in 301 AD, the first country, a Christian country. So I was born in Armenia and raised in Armenia in a lower middle class family. We were not poor, but not doing great. Though we had potentials. My parents considered themselves Christians because Armenia being first Christian country, but there was nothing Christian in our family because we just occasionally went to the Orthodox church, put candles, and that was our Christianity. So my mom, most of the time, my mom was a homestay mom. Sometimes she worked. But my dad was the hardworking man. He would work, go to Russia, work, make money, come and keep the family. But my dad made a lot of money, and we lost all the money, and mostly because of my dad's very bad attitude to money. He is a classic example of hedonist. He made money, he spent the money on pleasures. And he would keep saying and just that life this is what we got. Enjoy the pleasures. Don't think about death, because you just go there, get rotten, worms eat you up, and that's it. That's the end. And but there is something that happened in our family that just kind of contradicted to what I saw and what I heard from my dad. Before I was born, my parents had 2 boys and 2 girls, but 2 boys died very early age. Nobody knew. Still, they don't know why. Very early age, they died. Both boys. And one day, an elderly man walked in with my aunt being there, and he asked my mom and by name, and my mom kind of wondering who is this old man. And he said, he asked for a cup of water, and then he sat down and he said, I know what you have gone through. You lost 2 sons, and but don't worry, next year you will have a son, and you call him Gegham, and you baptize him, because child baptism, infant baptism is very common in Armenia. Baptize him at this specific church. And then he walks out, and still we don't know who that person was. And when I was born, my parents, my relatives treated me as a special child, like taking care of me and so on. I was not spoiled at all, but I was not, because my dad was very strict and very like no privileges. But still, I enjoyed those special treatment that I would get all the time. But by the age 7, 8, hearing this special gift and so on, how life is, why would anyone care about one family losing 2 sons and giving a son? At the same time, hearing my dad just keep saying, there is nothing in life, like all is suffering, everything bad. With your age, you just get old and sick and tired, and sometimes people don't even like you, they reject you and so on. So this is life. And it just did not make sense to me. And as I was thinking, like you can imagine, 7, 8-year-old boy, just simple logic was, my simple logic was, if right now I'm enjoying the best of my life, I'm not working, I'm not trying to provide even for my food or anything. But soon when I get older, I get married, life is going to be tough, and then I get older, and I don't know, I might get really sick or even handicapped. Like, I really don't want to get there. I think suicide is the best solution. I never attempted to commit suicide, but that thought was just running all the time. And every Sunday morning, that was the only day I didn't go to school. We didn't go to school, and I could sleep as long as I could. But every Sunday morning, I would wake up and ask, like, if I died, where would I end up being? Like, what kind of place would it be? Just every single morning. And I would just lay down and think about, and then my mom or my dad would come, wake up, it's 11 o'clock, just get up. We got some work to do. So this just the meaning of life became so important for me, this daunting question, that I just started reading books as a little boy. But I couldn't find the answer until I was 18, when I just out of blue, I just wanted to visit one of my uncles. And I had 4 uncles in the same town. And I decided to visit specifically that one. And I just went, and his oldest son was sitting and reading a book all alone. And I said, "What are you reading?" He said, "New Testament." Oh, I said, "Does it say anything about death? What is, when I die, what happens?" And I don't remember everything he said, but one thing I knew for 1,000,000%, that little book had the answer. I just felt that. Like, I was so sure that little book had the answer that I have been looking for. So he invited me to the Sunday morning service. I went there, and that was the day I accepted Christ as Lord and Savior. I was happy, and I knew without any doubt I found the meaning. Well, I found the meaning, but I made some enemies at home, because becoming a Christian, that's a big shame. In Armenia, that you can, like, you're a sect. You're kind of betraying your religion and becoming like Baptist. What is Baptist? That's like, and so my parents especially were just like devastated. They said, "We had so much hope in you, and you just took and threw everything out of the window." But more pressure from my family. I was the first one from my family, from my dad's side, Christian. From my mother's side, I was the second, following my cousin who witnessed me. The pressure from the family drew me much closer to the Lord, and so close that when I got my Bible, I would read minimum 4 hours a day, the Bible, like minimum 4 hours. I finished the Bible, whole Bible, like 4 or 5 times in a year. I would just read. That's how God really, the pressure from family drew me closer to God. But I found the meaning of life, but I still couldn't find my place in life. Who am I? And those who are born in former Soviet Union, like being born in former Soviet Union country, I always hated communism. I always hated the lifestyle that they had. Of course, I was not Christian. I couldn't refer to that as ungodly or, unrighteous, but still I couldn't I hate it. And I was thinking maybe when I grow up, I will just leave this country because I couldn't see future there. So now, finding the meaning of life, I still couldn't find my place in life. I was Christian. I had no doubt about my commitment to the Lord, but at that time, I was studying at one of the universities in Armenia. I was studying economics and bank management. And by the time I finished, I knew 100% that was not me. But I didn't know what was me. Like I knew I saw myself in ministry, but what ministry? What is ministry? What is gift? I know the Bible, Paul talks about gifts, but I have no idea what gifts I had. So I prayed for 3 years. And God, at the end of the 3 years of intense praying, and sometimes I even questioned whether God really cared about me. But I just pushed forward. I said, I'm going to just continue asking. God sent an American missionary who is a missionary in Ukraine. He came to Armenia to teach at the seminary. We met at the Easter service, and he said, why don't you come and study in Ukraine, theology? And then that was God's answer, and that was so clear. Of course, the conversation was longer. I don't want to give all that, but that was so clear that God finally answered. He wanted me, he directed me to start my new journey, my kind of the beginning of my ministry with theological education. He wanted me to study theology, study especially Old Testament and biblical languages, and then go back and teach in Armenia. And actually, that was God's irony. Because there were 3 things I hated in my life. Maybe not hated, but you can imagine those little boys, the kind of very stubborn and even cocky boys, when they say, I will never do it. And they just keep, very insistent. I was one of them. And I said, I will never become a teacher. I will never learn foreign languages because Armenian is the best language. And it is. And third one, I will never marry to a foreign girl. And then later, when I met my wife, I realized that was a stupid idea. And I realized I had to change my theology, fix my theology. But the first 2, I will never become a teacher and I will never learn foreign languages, suddenly changed, just disappeared. And I fell in love with languages and teaching. And I got so enthusiastic about that. I started sharing my enthusiasm with my friends and relatives. Like, I'm going to study and teach. And that was like, I'm going to do something I hated all the time. And then, of course, at that time, I was thinking that I would still marry to an Armenian girl. And I think that God allowed that wrong theology to stay with me so I would not look for my choices while I was studying in Ukraine Netherlands and Belgium. So I traveled for a long time for my education. And then when I went back to Armenia, God said, now it's time to change your third theology. And that was the time I met Sarah Beth, who in Armenia, who came to Armenia as a mission trip. And we got to know each other, and we got married, and we lived in Armenia for almost 3 years. And then we moved here in 2015. So I started such a new journey with the Lord that at times I questioned if I made the right decision. I will be honest. And I never questioned God's love to me or my love to the Lord. Never. But that decision, because it was so different, so radically different, and the direction that He was taking me, it's just like, am I going the right direction or not? And God didn't reveal everything about my future, but He revealed enough to take the next step. And it was so clear that this is my will. This is enough for you to make the next step. With every step, He taught me to trust Him like Abraham. And this image would come, those Abraham and other faithful servants, like he never knew where he was going, but he trusted so much that he just left everything at that old age to go to follow God. And now today, looking back at how God led me, starting from me as a single guy, and then getting together with Sarah Beth and having family. As a family, we just look back and see how God has led us, navigated us through life. We could never imagine to be where we are now. Like today, in Raleigh, right now we are living in Wake Forest, but Sarah Beth is working at American Society of Echocardiography. I'm enjoying teaching biblical languages at Israel Institute of Biblical Studies, and also working on my PhD, which is giving hard time to me, but that's life. Like looking back, how God has led us to this moment, to this stage in life, we still have lots of questions. Like we don't know what's God's will for our family in far future. We don't know. We have absolutely no idea. We were talking about that a week or so ago, and but. One thing keeps coming up every time when we start questioning, is that we know that right now this is where we are supposed to be. And this is the stage where God wants us to be. And at this stage of life, the most important thing that matters is an act of obedience. An act of obedience at this step, like at this stage. God is leading step by step, and my friend would say, God does not show the whole future. He doesn't point at his flashlight that you can see everything. He directs his light right in front of you for the next step. He will not reveal the other step until you make that step. And this is what I think it just keeps coming, that what matters in our life of faith and walking with Christ is act of obedience at every step as He navigates us through life. Because each step is the preparation for the greater one, the future one that's coming. And sometimes we can be trapped with this glorious future and fail in everyday steps walking with Christ. and that's what personally I'm learning. Um, you can still dream about your bright future. You can still dream about your glorious future, but the only way to get there is to take step by step, faithfully, obediently, and walk with Christ every day. Do the right thing now. Don't worry about the future. Do the right thing now. And if you know God's will, just do it. And, again, looking back, today as I was writing, I'm about to done. I was thinking like how I imagine my future before conversion. I was imagining a guy, I would be just maybe engineer who would be married, who was married to an Armenian girl, being in Armenia and doing I don't know what. But today, having Sarah Beth as an American wife and having such wonderful family, being in the U.S. and being prepared, all this education and everything that I have, it just looking back like, I can't imagine my life other than this. And this is way, way better because this is what God prepared for me. Thank you for listening, and thank you very much.